We'd like to start the press conference by Minister Kamikawa. Minister, the floor is yours. Thank you. Yesterday, a task force on women, peace and security, WPS, was established to provide coordination across the ministry under myself, under the minister. At the launch meeting, which took place yesterday, there are participants from all the regional bureaus responsible for bilateral relations, as well as other divisions, and altogether 50 members took part. I understand that this is gaining attention from very large number of young staff within the ministry. They'll provide fresh new ideas actively, so they will be able to pursue WPS in a very strong and steadfast manner as the organization as a whole. Under the task force, concrete action will be studied and considered. Now, in Japan, in February, Japan-Ukraine Conference for Promotion of Economic Reconstruction will be held. It will be hosted by Japan. We will carrying out hearing from outside external experts. It will incorporate the best practices from outside Japan. Also, secondly, we were determined to advance a forward-looking agenda and WPS that contribute to peace and stability in the international community at all levels from policy to the field while integrating Japan's unique initiatives in disaster reduction and other areas. So that is indeed our position with regard to this initiative. That is all for myself. Thank you.
If you have a question, please raise your hand. If you're designated, please proceed to the nearest microphone and ask question after identifying your name and affiliation. If you're asked question, please go back to your seat. Kyodo Katsurada-san, please. Kyodo Katsurada. Hello? So, about the stoppage of funding to UNRWA is my question. Upon allegation of UNRWA's officials' involvement of last October's Hamas attack in Israel, the government announced to temporarily halt funding to UNRWA. You asked the UNRWA to take appropriate action enhancing governance to resume. What kind of response will lead to the resumption of funding? Could you give us your view about the role played by UNRWA when the humanitarian situation deteriorates in Gaza Strip? As to the resumption of the funding to UNRWA, Japan is seriously concerned about the allegation of UNRWA staffs. UN investigation is underway on this, and in order to consider measures, for the time being, Japan will temporarily suspend additional funding to UNRWA, and we, including the enhancement of governance in UNRWA, we strongly ask appropriate actions will be taken. This investigation just started, so as to the future action, I cannot make prejudgment, but through close communication with UN, UNRWA, and related countries, we would like to consider the future actions and response. Next, as to the importance of UNRWA's role that you asked, UNRWA provides indispensable services to millions of Palestinian refugees, such as health, medicine, education, welfare, and plays a very important role, or has been playing a very important role. And in November last year, I myself visited UNRWA headquarters. In Gaza Strip, where a serious humanitarian situation continues, UNRWA delivers a necessary humanitarian assistance to each and every resident, and UNRWA plays an indispensable role, which I felt very strongly back then. On the other hand, in playing the essential role of UNRWA, the assumption should be the UNRWA's governance should be trustworthy, so that UNRWA can fulfill the roles sufficiently. Japan strongly urges UNRWA to take actions appropriately. At the same time, through support to other international organizations, Japan would like to proactively and tenaciously continue diplomatic efforts to improve humanitarian situation in Gaza Strip and calm down the situation.
Next question from NHK. Igarashi-san, please. The floor is yours. Thank you. Igarashi from NHK. I would ask about the situation in the Middle East. The release of hostages being held by Hamas. I believe the Israelis and the Hamas is carrying out the negotiation, but Mr. Blinken has said that there was a very productive session and that he hinted of progress in the talks. However, many people point to the gap in the positions taken by the two sides with regard to this matter. So the situation could be prolonged, and negotiations are facing challenges. However, what do you think about this current situation, please? Thank you. Thank you. Because of the terrorist attacks by Hamas and others, many people have been taken hostages. However, their release has not been achieved. So the actual victims who are detained and also their families are facing severe pains as a result. At the same time, in the Gaza, on a daily basis, various casualties are seen among a very large number of children, women, and senior citizens. As far as Japan is concerned, we are gravely concerned. We continue to be gravely concerned about the very critical humanitarian situation. Against that backdrop, with regard to release of hostages as well as possible suspension of the fighting, various discussions are being taken place among relevant countries, and we are monitoring the situation with great interest. We hope that through close coordination with the various countries, multilateral institutions, we hope that there will be immediate release of hostages and the humanitarian situation could be imposed as soon as possible.
Sankei Harakawa-san. Sankei Harakawa. So from Kannonji Temple in Nagasaki, Tsushima, the Buddhist statue was stolen. In October last year, the ROK Supreme Court ruled that the stolen Buddhist statue should be held by Kannonji Temple, and even after 3 months, the return has not been realized. And I have a question. In the meantime, as the Japanese government, what kind of approach have you made to the Korean government, South Korean government, and what has been the explanation by the South Korean government? What is the outlook of the return of the Buddhist statue? As to the Buddhist statue that you pointed out, in October last year in South Korea, the ruling was finalized, and given this, so that the statue will be returned to the owner, Kannonji, Japan has been approaching ROK government. As for the Japanese government, for the early return of the statue, we will continue approach to the South Korean government, and through communicating with stakeholders, including Kannonji Temple, we would like to take actions appropriately.
Katsurada-san from Kyoto Press. Next question, please. Thank you, Katsurada from Kyoto. I would like to ask about the expo in Osaka. Many people point to the delay in the schedule, especially with regard to the construction of pavilion. What are your thoughts and your policies as the ministry in order to encourage various countries to speed up the construction of the global pavilion? And also, some people are seeking postponement because of the need to prioritize reconstruction and recovery of the Noto Peninsula earthquake. What are your thoughts? Thank you. Yes, about the initiatives as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. With regard to the construction of pavilion in various countries, through the Secretariat of the Expo, as also through close coordination with our colleagues at the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, we have been making necessary encouragement through various overseas embassy here in Japan. And also, I try to encourage various VIPs whenever I have the opportunity to meet with them in meetings. Now, you also asked about the possibility of prioritizing recovery and reconstruction from the Noto Peninsula earthquake. With regard to the response to the Noto Peninsula earthquake, inclusive of the reconstruction of the life as well as the lives of victims, it is important that we provide seamless response so that recovery and reconstruction of the affected areas could be pursued as soon as possible. We need to take all possible measures to bring this about. Now, having said that, with regard to the Osaka Kansai Expo, this is an excellent opportunity to communicate about the attractiveness of Japan to the global community. And our position is unchanged in that this is a very significant initiative. Hope we will be able to translate the Expo into Japan's growth as well as revitalization. So our position does not change, and we will have to continue to address this matter in that way. Already, with regard to Expo, I understand that 160 countries and regions have already expressed their intention to take part. And many of these countries have said that they want to make sure that they cooperate and make the successful Expo because of the very timing. We're very encouraged by these words of encouragement from these countries and regions. So all the parties will be united in the run-up to the opening next April. Thank you.
では、東亜日報、イさん。
Next question is Sang of Donggan Daily, please. I am Lee from Donggan Daily, South Korea. So my question is about the removal of the memorial monument in Gunma Prefecture. So you said that you expect the situation would not deteriorate, and you assert that you will make inquiry to Gunma. But as for the removal, you asked to the local government. But what will be the impact to Japan-ROK relations? And I think the government stance is the government responsibility. And what is the view of the Japanese government about this? And how do you intend to communicate with ROK?
As
to the point you referred to, this is the decision matter made by local municipalities, and at the Supreme Court, the ruling was finalized. I would like to refrain from making comment as the government of Japan. Next question.
さんどうぞ。
Next question, please. Thank you. I'm Shiba. I'm a freelance journalist. Recently, at the litigation brought on by free journalist Junpei Yasuda, I believe the Tokyo District Court has rendered a decision whereby just because Turkey has banned Mr. Yasuda from entering Turkey, not issuing a passport and not allowing Mr. Yasuda to travel represents is something that exceeds and abuses the scope of discretion. And also, I think Mr. Devike, who is the UN Rapporteur on freedom of expression from 2014 to 2020, has also said that countries that are parties to SSB should not hinder movement of journalism. So therefore, I believe, Minister, should you stop this non-issuance passports based on passport law, Article 13(1)(1), and I think shouldn't the ministry allow Mr. Yasuda to travel? Thank you. As a generality, the passport law sets forth provisions whereby, under certain conditions, passports will not be issued. So that being the case, whether or not we issue passports to each individual people will be decided based on the provisions set forth under the passport law and in line with the concrete application one by one. You also asked the question about the litigation and the suit. Now, the argument of the Japanese government, national government, was not accepted partially with regard to the substance of the decision. We like to scrutinize and study the matter very closely, and upon coordination with various relevant ministers, we like to decide upon the responses of the national government, bearing in mind with because of possible appeal.
Asahi Shimbun, Matsuyama-san, please. Last question. Asahi Shimbun, Matsuyama. In and outside of Japan, there is criticism over the remarks by Mr. Aso of LDP on the 28th speech in the context to praise your diplomatic activities. He commented on your appearance. So this remarks is reflection of a man is in power. And including gender gap index in political area, Japan is very much lagging behind. And this remarks by Mr. Aso is representative of that. And how do you assess these remarks? I was elected for the first time in 2000, and since then, based on my belief, I tried to fulfill my responsibility as a politician, and I have been doing activities based on this belief. For the first time in about 20 years, I was appointed as a female foreign minister for the future of Japan and for the future generation of Japan who bear the backbone of Japan, I try to fulfill my responsibilities. I understand there are various comments and views and opinions, and I take any comment with gratitude. And myself, I have been making efforts to conduct a diplomacy that is understood and supported by people of Japan, and I would like to make continuous efforts moving forward. By making these remarks, I would like to respond to your question. Now, this concludes today's press conference. Thank you very much.